right, and we are back to TAG TV's live coverage of the Canadian election. I guess the YouTube streams were broken up, so I'm back here. I'm now joined by my expert analysis, Anis Faruqi and Mohammed Rizwan. Anis, you've been recently revived from Twitter.
Yes.
You've been resurrected, so we're all very happy that has happened.
Thank you.
So, early projections, we're looking at the numbers here. It says Liberals 54, Conservatives 39, Bloc 9, New Democrats 6, Greens 1, People's Party at 0, but we are hearing that, Maxime Mohamed Bernier, as he's known to no one, is going to be keeping his seat. So it looks like the People's Party will be part of our new government, depending on what type of nightmare coalition that is. We don't know. So now here we're going to talk about what does this nightmare look for Canada going forward. So I'll start with Mohammed Rizwan. What are your predictions for Canada's government, and what's best case, worst case scenario going in now?
First, worst case scenario, because it's easy to describe, and there are so many things which come straight into mind when you know the worst.
There are so many worst case scenarios. It's hard to pick which is the worst.
Which is the worst?
Lesser evil. Let's go for lesser evil.
Yes, we are going. If NDP and the Liberals go into coalition, as we are expecting. Expect more immigration, endless immigration without any, benchmark or without any value system test or whatever. Yeah. And then
except in Quebec.
Except in Quebec. Yeah, Quebec is different. I mean, they are.
Quebec is awesome.
Yes.
They are revolting against the whole thing.
I saw Trudeau said it's okay that Quebec has a values test system on immigration because of their culture or something. It's like, listen, I mean, but a values test is really part of any immigration system going forward. I mean, it's become a recent controversy, but I guess this is problem with the new immigration debate is there is no talking about it, right? We just have to turn off all our brain cells for immigration and just say, the more immigration, the better. All immigration is good. Yeah. And we've been talking about this is the problem with our immigration or global migration isn't so much immigration. It's integration.
It's integration.
And we can't talk about integration. Yeah. So again, we're going to bring in 350,000, maybe 400,000, 450,000. It's going to be like an auction with Jackmeet saying, you have 340, 370, can I hear more? More immigrants, more. We're going to get.
You're right. I mean, so many things. Actually, we have stopped talking about it because people are afraid that if I say something, I'll be labeled racist or I'll be labeled something else. So this is not democracy. This is not freedom of speech as we know it. I mean, it's something else. I mean, we should talk about it. This is policy issue, for God's sake. I mean, how many immigrants a country wants, what kind of immigration a country wants, how they are going to integrate. This is a policy issue which impacts immediate economics, and economics which impacts the lives of the people, and the job market, and the economy, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's really crazy that we have brought down the serious topics of discussion to the level of, no, that's racist. No, that's, black, this is white, this is brown. Come on, it's crazy. It's becoming crazy place
Political
now.
correctness, basically. We have been a victim of political correctness for many, many, many years. And that is because nobody wants to talk about these taboos. They consider it ghettos, vote banks. You can just name it whatever, right? But as long as it serves the purpose for these politicians, they are very happy with many, many immigrants coming. They're going to cash that vote bank.
Yeah, and you see the sort of the social rot it's bringing in this. I mean, I see it on my social media because I'm of a younger generation, and I didn't openly express my views until a couple of years ago. You see people saying things like, hey, I saw one post today, like, don't vote for a candidate that you would be ashamed to tell your gay or POC friends about. And POC is my new favorite term. It means people of color, which is what you say to people of color. But they're not colored people. That's racist. This term is bound to explode. This term has like maybe a year and a half left until it's like the new N-word.
Exactly.
You say POC, how is it like?
I can say, but you cannot say. Right?
I can.
Vice versa.
Because I get it because you're wearing glasses and I'm not.
It could be anything. But the thing is, like, the way Canada has evolved over the years. In past Haji Mohamed, Justin Trudeau's era, you see there have been ghettos. He's he's changing mask every time he goes to a certain community. He's changing his attire. I call it a mask, right? It's a mask. So he goes to a Sikh temple. He has a Sikh mask on it. He goes to a Muslim mosque. He has a Muslim mask on it. And behind every mask, there is a liar mask behind it, because he
Where
has
is
been
Canadian
lying.
mask, by the way?
Yeah.
Where the
It's
hell
a
is the
hockey game.
Canadian mask?
You know, it's a hockey game.
Yeah.
And to this point, I'm going to say I saw a study. This is in Toronto, and I think this kind of hits on all we're saying is. The city did an analysis, but it's a city analysis of Toronto. So a bunch of idiots misanalyzed something, but they said, okay, we're looking at areas that for the demographics, what type of sports should we invest in? And they're like, okay, it turns out they're just building new cricket fields and they're only renovating one hockey arena, and this kind of goes to this idea of immigration and integration. Like the problem here, that's not the immigrants' problem.
No.
That's not the immigrants' fault at all.
Yeah.
That's the fault of all the do-gooder white people on city council saying,
Yeah.
oh, they're brown, so they're going to play cricket, not hockey. In the sense that, and you don't build this Canadian identity, because I want, the 72 Summit series for my parents' generation.
Yeah.
Everyone, my dad knows where he was when Paul Henderson scored that goal. And that's a Canadian moment that all Canadians of a certain age, black, white, whatever, share. Oh, where were you? And that's a connector, right? Where was I when Sidney Crosby scored the Olympic goal? Right? You might have a situation with this goes down if we're just saying, oh, you came from Pakistan, India to the cricket fields with you. Okay, white kids to the hockey arenas with you.
There you go.
Yeah.
You want to say, like, listen, this is Canada. It's hockey. Like, you want to build a cricket thing, fine. But we should be encouraging the new immigrants, hey, this is our sport. Hockey, maybe we'll subsidize it. You get on the ice, play with the other kids, learn the language. This is good. Because
This is one country where it requires a lot of effort to get integrated or get mainstream with with all the society. Otherwise, the government, the society in general encourages you to stay in your shell or island wherever you are. I mean, if that's not encouraged at all. I mean, the point you're making, because we do not, expect or to teach our children that. Hockey is as good a game as any other game is. Go learn it. I mean, play with the people.
And I think I thought. I mean, the thing you learn in modern universities is some sociologists. By the way, sociology is a cult. It's a cult. I don't believe in anything. But Canadian sociologists have said hockey is like Canada's religion, and to an extent, I take this. But if you look at it from a deeper analysis, there's a reason why hockey is a Canadian sport, right? Hockey serves a good value in Canada to the social fabric in the sense that in the winter, things are really cold, and it's really dark. And when you stay inside, that leads to depression. Hockey is a team sport. Hockey is a sport that in the winter, it gets families to the rink. It's a whole family thing. You get them onto a team, you make these social connections, right? And it's one of those, oh, it's cold, oh, damn, oh, good hockey, right? It gives you a mental
It's
buoy.
not only hockey, it's hockey night in Canada.
Hockey night in Canada, right? Hockey night in Canada and Punjabi. What a great thing, right? What a great thing. Like that's what I'm saying is instead of building cricket fields, we should be investing in Punjabi language hockey night in Canada to bring us together. And this is sort of so. Let's just go into what the different parties have said on immigration. So the Liberals and the NDP are the same thing. The Greens will just say they want to bring in climate refugees. So, but they're crazy. So ignore the Greens.
What does that mean?
What does it even mean?
What does it mean?
What does green even mean? Green means clean and mean. I don't know. People who oppose green are mean. That's essentially what green means.
Well, there was a time when green was a thing.
Now
it's climate and it's lots of other things, right?
We can unpack. I mean, it's a Canadian election, so we'll have to talk about crazy climate change rhetoric at some point.
Exactly.
But okay, so we have the Greens off in La La Land. We have the Bloc who are like no immigrants to Quebec, but they're French, so they're out. The NDP and the Liberals, that's right, we talked about it. It's this bidding war. Like the Liberals wanted to raise it from 250, where we're seeing these problems. We have the stuff at Roxham Road. They're like 250. Oh, there's some anxiety about immigration. 60% of Canadians want it lower. Let's increase it by 100,000. Let's do it. And the NDP are like probably going to get in there if they get in 110,000. Well, no, your race is 120,000. No, your race is 125,000. Do I hear 150? Like that's what we're going to get with the Liberals and NDP.
I'm surprised. I'm really amazed at why there is no policy evaluation. Where's the policy?
You're racist.
In all this.
I mean, Jagmeet Singh is systemic racism. Justin Trudeau's apology. I put on blackface. Why did he do that? Well, Canada has a systemic racism problem. Right? And even the time he kind of took it,
it's absolutely. I mean, it's...
but if you look at the realistic numbers, what happens? The Conservatives and the People's Party especially, I would like to talk about it. People's Party has
we have to
a
get to that.
very realistic plan, which serves the purpose not only from the point of view of Canada, but if you look at the resources available in the government to handle those immigrant files, for
Yeah.
example, like a vetting process,
Yeah.
like interviewing process, qualifying process. We don't have enough resources.
Oh, our resources are totally maxed, especially on the refugee front.
Yes.
Public sector refugees, since the Trudeau's whole thing, we have the refugee system is swamped by over a factor
So
of
what's wrong with the
1,000%.
quality immigration, right? What's wrong with the integration rather than mass immigration? So I think that's something that we should start debating about.
Any bureaucrat sitting in policy position, he should be able to tell the PMO, Prime Minister Office, that look, this is how much Canada needs, and these are the areas where Canada needs. These are the territories where Canada needs.
Yeah.
So where does racism comes in it? Where does nationalism comes into it?
Yeah.
Right, left, center. It's a policy
We've lost
decision.
this. We've lost this of. I mean, I'm skeptical of anyone in the immigration debate who says immigration is good or immigration is bad. It's a factor of economics. Too much immigration is bad. Too little immigration is bad. What's the number? And we're not having a conversation of what is the number. So the PPC are the only ones who said we're going to lower it to 150,000. It's at 250,000 now. Liberals are going to increase it to 350,000 or maybe $1 billion. Who knows? And then the PPC want to lower it. So that's we talked about the Elizabeth NDP. We talked about the PPC.
But may I ask you something?
Yeah.
Do you think that PPC's stance on this immigration, was it a political suicide?
No.
Or taking a courageous step?
No, I think
They were bold enough to talk about it.
I don't think it was political suicide because I think it's what the Conservatives should have done. Now, the problem with the Conservatives, we have to get into what the Conservatives said here, is the Conservatives, when the Liberals said 350, they said, okay, fine. We don't want to get in, we don't want to be called racist.
Exactly.
I mean, Andrew Scheer's slogan should be, extreme moral cowardice always in the face of minor controversy.
Exactly.
Not, in time for you to get ahead, that is not really what the campaign slogan. It was like, extreme moral cowardice in the face of minor controversy, also some tax cuts.
Yeah.
Like that's the Conservative policy problem. And this is, I think, where because the Conservatives had a huge chance to win. Right? They would have prevented the formation of the PPC if they had given in on supply side management and all that. But if they had just said, hey, we're going to take care of the immigration crisis. We're going to close the border at Roxham Road, which, to be fair, they have said they're going to close that border, but they whisper it. They don't yell it. So they run, and humans are instinctual and sort of read emotions. That if you're conservatives and you state, like, one of the good things Donald Trump said is, my ideas are fantastic. Look at these ideas. They're the greatest ideas. They're different, like the Tuesday ideas are different from the Wednesday ideas, but they're still the greatest ideas.
Yep.
They're still fantastic and amazing, and I've come up with them, and they're terrific. The most terrific ideas you've ever heard.
My idea. And
My idea, and like it's different than the idea you had yesterday. It's oscillating around. It's like 9 different positions on abortion in 3 hours, but they're all the best
All the
positions.
best.
But the reason I ask you about this political suicide question, do you think this a brand new party going into the elections, and they took this bold, courageous step, and that's what I call a political suicide. They should not have touched that topic, which is very sensitive to Canadians.
Listen, the PPC were dead before they hit the water in this election. We all knew.
Yeah.
I mean, one seat is really any seats is a victory. They're, you had PPC people I was dealing with them. We're going to win a majority, and it's going to be a government.
Yeah.
No,
Well, that's not going to happen.
It's good.
Yeah.
Like maybe down the road, but like that's not how Canadian. This isn't America. Like first past the post parliamentary system is functioning like this. It's not a referendum like Brexit, which is straight like the PPC. If this was straight, full, pure democracy of there is no parliament. It's people in New Brunswick and Yellowknife in Toronto. We all vote, and all the votes go to the top. Yeah, Maxime Bernier would have done a lot better.
Yeah.
Just a raw democracy, and you have a lot of people saying, God, I hate Trudeau, so I have to vote Conservative. You have a lot of that. But I actually think it was it's kind of, they needed to do, someone needed to say something, because 60% of Canadians wanted lower immigration levels. Because there are, and it's sort of, again, it's unfair to the immigrant population in a lot of ways. There are a lot of societal breakdown issues that Canadians see, and immigration is they know immigration has something to do with it.
Right.
And the reason why it goes straight to immigrants, because it's the easiest thing to latch onto, because again, we're not having these conversations at all. Canadians are also more worldly. So Some Canadians see what's happening in Europe. Some Canadians in
UK.
2016, the UK, or my biggest thing was the Cologne New Year's Eve in 2016. 2016, that year started off with you had these gangs, which was hundreds of men, definitely not from Germany, who were going around and systematically sexually abusing people, using fireworks, and then hundreds of people would swarm them on the outside to keep police away, and then dozens would sexually assault the women on the inside, like coordinated sexual assault en masse. And a lot of people said, whoa, that's something there. You know, and we can parse out what is that? Is that culture? Is it, you know, are all those men from this specific western province of Afghanistan? Is it that problem? You know, but because we can't have this conversation, like there was a UK MP who said, sounds like a regular night in Birmingham. Really?
Yeah.
Sounds like a standard night where there's hundreds and hundreds of men in groves systematically assaulting women.
But do you want that Birmingham and Bradford here in Toronto?
No, no one does.
So that's what
and that's what
immigration
people,
is all
and people
about.
say, and because we can't have these issues of, okay, is that an issue of, is it Islamic extremism? Is that immigration? Is it just this particular culture? Is it a lack of policing? Is it a failure of one? Is it, did this specific gang not be vetted? You know, is it lax immigration? Like, where is, instead of saying, okay, what happened here? Is it psychological? Is it social laws? What happens here? We never have the conversation. So people just latch onto the two easiest things because we know, you probably say, that's something to do with Islam and immigration. And because it's never...
Tell you what, Daniel, the reason why it's happening in Canada is there's I would say that we don't have a statesman at the moment. We have a politician.
that is the understatement of the century.
Yeah,
but
that's a politician.
But get on that.
We have politicians who are pandering to the different, islands of votes. That's all they are doing. Ideally, I mean, we are not living in an ideal world. I know that, and it's a political debate. Okay, but any statesman kind of, a person who can rise above his, who can think as a Canadian national leader, he can easily make it quietly, push this discourse into policy realm rather than political realm. I mean, how many immigrants from how many countries, how qualified do they need, and which part of Canada do they need? This needs to be a cabinet policy decision rather than a political. Why it's becoming political discourse? Because there are ghettos and islands of immigrants living in this country. There are no Canadians. So that's why it's easy to paint it to them. Okay, I say these things in Brampton, I say these things in Barnaby, or I say these things somewhere else, so it will get me political leverage. When this debate will be pushed into policy realm, then there won't be any problem. So it's for us to make an effort that this is a decision like interest rate. Bank of Canada, do they ask, Jagmeet Singh and everybody else who are not in the part of policy discourse that how much interest rate should Bank of Canada raise? No, they don't, because that's a policy decision which affects Canada. So same should be, the immigration should be dealt in the same way, but I have a caveat to that. I have a thing to say here. Whoever comes, whatever qualification, skill level you attach to it, whichever country, it's your choice. Canadian government, we trust that. We trust the leader we voted for. But whoever comes, at least he should pass Canadian values test.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I mean, our debate around this is so toxic. And as you say, like,
it has become toxic.
It's toxic, and that's what I'm saying. This is why the PPC should have taken this, because immigration was the number one driving. It was clearly a driving issue in the Brexit. It was clearly a driving issue in the American election. It's clearly an issue that matters to Canadians here.
That for too long, and without, letting it go into political debate, public discourse, and then it gets pushed to the far and far and far, either to the left, either to the right, and then the people hijack the whole debate and make mess of it.
So I mean,
it should not be.
Exactly. My favorite example of this is I wrote an article like last year titled Ahmed Hussein, the immigration minister, is a racist. Leaked documents prove that Ahmed Hussein is a racist. And what I used were Ahmed Hussein's himself qualifications of a racist. And according to our immigration minister, anyone who disagrees with the immigration minister on immigration is a racist. And there was a leaked letter where he wrote saying, our immigration policy is unsustainable. Like, we need additional funding because we can't sustain the numbers. Right? It was proved that he had said, and he had called Lisa MacLeod, the Conservative immigration minister for Ontario, un-Canadian. He had called people who criticized him racist for criticizing his immigration policy, for saying it wasn't sustainable. Then there's a leaked letter proving that he had said it's not sustainable.
Yep.
So he's a racist by his own standards. And this is just the insanity we have of our immigration minister knows the immigration system isn't sustainable. And he is out there then saying, you know what, it was unsustainable 250,000 because of all the people from Roxham Road. We're going to increase it to 350,000. This is the level we're at. So, you know, maybe 150,000 isn't the right number and the PPC went too low. Maybe it's really 200,000. Who knows?
Well,
but
whatever is the number, let the professionals decide about it.
Let the professionals decide. And the problem is, I don't even, people don't even trust the professionals anymore because, you know, who's coming up with these studies? Like, I have a friend with a master's in climate science from Laurier University, and she outright told me that they did a meta-analysis, they didn't find any significant results, and they were forced to fudge the data. The university came in and said, you know, you can't publish that, publish this instead, or else you're not going to pass. So like, okay, I want my master's, so sure, climate change is going to kill us all in 10 minutes. 9 minutes now.
Right.
So, you know, hug your kids. Everyone hug your kids right now. Right? So, like, again, is it the Brookings Institute of Qatar telling us that we need more, you know, immigrants? Is it like, you know, is it Gerald Butts' friend from some policy think tank saying, oh, immigration has no drawbacks whatsoever? And like, so, you know, the problem is, we have two problems here, is we need to let the experts decide this, but we also have massive corruption. And I saw, like, as the most recently removed from the university system in Canada, it's trash. It's utter trash. Like, if you're not in the STEM fields, what you're learning is nothing. Like, it's propagandistic trash. It is ideologically slanted. So I don't like. So people are distrusting of this, distrust the elites. It's a reasonable thing, but so we have so many. There's so many. We've let all these issues slide so
That's
long
right.
that
there you go.
just trying.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, they're trying to solve it. That's why you get people like Trump who
It
just
has
say,
become-
"Here's my sledgehammer, and boom, I'm just going to whack Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and John McCain and whoever gets in my way. And if it's Mattis one day and John Kelly the next day, and maybe a Democrat, then maybe a Republican, then maybe a baby."
They never
like,
solved it in the past. That's why they are debating it now. It's political mileage for them. Fine. But the thing is, it's making Canada a mess. You know, it's polarizing. I mean, we are getting more into tribes. Rather, we should have been integrating. I mean, it's becoming tribes now on the immigration issue. I mean, if it had it been looked at as a Canadian issue, I mean, right from the start, I mean, then there would have been no discussion. Why I would listen to, you know, how many Muslims I require, how many Sikhs I require, how many Jews I require. And
because they want to divide Canada. They want division, right? They don't want integration.
The thing is that how many professional Canada requires and where? That's the debate.
that's the debate. So let's move off the immigration debate because I think we covered.
Now,
it
Daniel,
Yes.
250 results are out. How do you see them? Could you?
Okay, so let's just go to that. So we're at the Liberals at 124, Conservatives at 97, the Bloc at 30. So the Bloc last time were at 10. They're already now at 30. So 30 to 40 was their projection. So we're seeing here at 30. Okay, it's still around 30. And we had 14 Greens at 1. The PPC should be at 1, but I gotta imagine that this is sort of like the Donald Trump. It's this sort of the Donald Trump Hillary Clinton thing where as soon as like California comes in, they as soon as California comes in, they declared for Hillary, but they weren't declaring like Arizona, even though it was at like even though it was up by like 8 points for Trump. So I expect there's a lot of liberal biasing in what they're putting up. But the interesting numbers are NDP is low. NDP is low.
That's what I noticed.
Is NDP is low, and that does not surprise me. I'm actually quite happy with that, and it shows that hey, Quebec doesn't like Quebec loves when you say free things and socialism. Doesn't like people in turbans.
Right.
So, like, what is Quebec like? More people who say free stuff, or is like what wins? Turban or free things? Turban looks like turban wins, which I predicted.
I mean, the way we are going, it's 250 now?
More than 250, yeah.
So, do you think they can get to 170 on their own?
I don't think they're going to. They could, but I don't think they're going to be. Remember,
unless they make a big surge.
So they need to make a big. They have to get big in BC. So this is so we're at so the.
But
polls-
remember, the BC results came earlier, so they are already in it.
British Columbia. No, British Columbia closes in 3 hours after ours.
After us.
Also, we are still waiting on
We're
that.
still waiting on BC.
Eastern
Eastern
that
is
means
coming.
it means
Eastern
that
have come in.
NDP
Yeah.
will pick up.
Yeah, the east goes is hardcore liberal, so they're at 130 now. Whereas the west coast, that's when the blue wave comes in.
Yeah.
So they're projecting that all of Alberta goes conservative,
Yeah.
and most of Saskatchewan is going to go conservative. So let's just look at.
I think the Reds have got what they've got pretty much.
Yeah.
You
Do you
think there's
think
a
so?
room for 40 more?
So 40 more. So according to here's projections here. So we'll call the official Tag TV projections. Liberals are projected 10 in British Columbia.
Yeah.
4 in Manitoba and Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
And 3 in the territories. I'm not sure if they've come in yet. So that's 17. 0 in Alberta. So we're looking at another 17 by our projections. That's 148, which is higher than we projected. So
Yeah.
the Liberals might actually be doing better. So I don't see it actually the way it's shaping up. Unless it all depends on. It looks here. Did the NDP do good enough in BC to hold
BC
seats
or
there?
so, yeah.
And
That's where it hinges on
the
now.
Liberal election here comes down to BC.
They seems to be wiped out from Quebec.
They've been. If someone can find the Quebec numbers broken down, that would be great to put up because we should see how just Quebec played out.
Yeah.
But okay, so we're looking at Quebec and Ontario, but the next results coming in are Mountain Time, so that's Alberta, Saskatchewan, and
then the BC.
that's going to be the blue wave is still coming in.
Right.
Yeah.
So all the conservative panicking, there's going to be a big blue wave from Saskatchewan, and
Yeah.
then
You see,
there might be a
the
final.
Liberals are stuck at 130 now. So
I think that's
They-
7, 8 more
maybe
seats pretty
maybe
much
not more
that
than
would close
yes,
them out.
it's kind of they're done what they need to. Oh, they're going up.
Went up to 135. Well, so I mean, the number we're looking at here is: do the Liberals and NDP together reach 170? That's the interesting number here, because will the Bloc hold the balance of power here? That's the interesting thing. So the Bloc are actually not doing as well as I thought they would do, which is interesting here. So it looks like the Liberals did a lot better in Quebec. And the reason the Liberals could have done well in Quebec is because of SNC-Lavalin. And Quebec, it actually polled well in SNC-Lavalin, Quebec, because Quebec's very, Quebec doesn't want to do anything about organized crime. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. They don't care about organized crime.
Whatever suits them.
As long as the organized crime is done in French, it's better than English Canada.
Yes.
Like that's as long as the mafia speaks French, we're totally okay with it.
Exactly.
And that's SNC-Lavalin. And I think. Yes, the coverage of SNC-Lavalin, it played well in Quebec because Quebec's like, he did well for Quebec, protect Quebec jobs.
Even the Bloc was supporting
Even
that.
the Bloc took their chance. The Bloc in the debates went after the Conservatives for going after Justin Trudeau on SNC-Lavalin.
That's right. That's what I'm pointing out. Yeah.
Andrew Scheer, his fatal mistake, his fatal flaw, is he was attacking the Liberals from the left. And you saw in the debate, and especially on SNC-Lavalin.
Yeah.
I said it was near criminal how bad the media handled SNC-Lavalin.
Yeah.
They treated him with kid gloves. They ignored the story. They buried it. On the first day, it was so obvious that he called the election that day because he knew the story was breaking, and he had blocked the RCMP from investigating into it. So it got 2 more days of play. I watched the entire CBC, got 2 lines on both days. So under 30 seconds of coverage. And the only time SNC-Lavalin was being covered on the news is when they showed clips of Andrew Scheer talking about it.
Yeah.
So it was really on Andrew Scheer.
Yeah.
This is the biggest corruption scandal in Canadian history. It's the worst scandal in Canadian history. It's the monopolization of all power into the executive branch.
That's right.
SNC-Lavalin, for those who aren't willing, is Trudeau turning Canada into a quasi-dictatorship.
Yeah.
And Scheer needed to explain this. Instead, he was in the debate. He said Trudeau claims to be a feminist, but he fired 2 women. He claims to be for Indigenous rights, but he fired an Indigenous person. And I'm sorry, but what you've done there is you said the framework of intersectionality, this sort of what we've been talking about really, this intersectional theory, the framework of the intersectional theory, that's valid.
Yeah.
So I'm going to attack you from there.
Yeah.
Right? Then all that people who listen to go, oh, intersectionality, that's a reasonable thing.
And how come? I mean, you have watched debates, both of them, right?
Yeah.
I suppose. And how come he got away on foreign policy so lightly?
Because he skipped the foreign policy debate.
No, I mean, there was a section in
There was a
CBC
question,
debate.
yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a section.
Global
there
and
was
foreign affairs, yeah.
But it just
and
didn't turn to climate change. It
he
turned to
got-
more climate change
Yeah,
nonsense.
he got away with it.
Because
I mean,
Andy
nobody
Sher-
pushed him on China. Nobody pushed him on Saudi Arabia.
So
Nobody pushed him on-
let's push him now. Let's
Yeah.
push him now on the worst diplomat in Canadian history. Probably in world history. I maybe you could find some like, you know, maybe Pompey's nephew was worse for ancient Rome. Like he did some pretty terrible deals. Like maybe. Or maybe the Trojan who negotiated that, the worst deal ever. Maybe that guy. Maybe that guy. But easily in the top 10 worst diplomats in all of world history,
Yeah.
easily in Canadian history, is Justin Trudeau.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, China, Philippines, fumbled it
Philippines.
all.
Yeah.
So I'll bring you guys in, and I have some views on sort of Canada and history going forward that will,
Yeah.
the Liberals are looking even better now at 138.
Yeah, 138.
So we're looking at actually now we're looking at a possibility of a. Listen, it looks like Justin Trudeau will be prime minister. Either looks like minority territory, but it might be majority. Yeah. So
I think he's heading for minority.
yeah, I'd say this looks like minority here.
Yeah.
It's not enough. But so where did you see Trudeau's biggest failings on foreign policy?
Daniel, to begin with, I mean, whatever I see, that's a different story. But ask those two Canadians who are still in detention in Beijing.
Yeah.
And for 1 month, it's been a month now, that I haven't, heard or, seen anything coming out from Chrystia Freeland's office or from Ottawa or anything emphatic enough which could compel the debate on the international stage at least. I mean, don't worry about getting them released, just a debate we are not seeing. I mean, it's out of discourse. What would happen to those Canadians? I mean, what was their crime? What was their fault? I mean, all they can say is they are being held hostage to Meng.
And so I talked with a professor from China. We are one of the organizations where we brought in a Chinese professor. Nothing to do with foreign policy, though. But we were getting to talk and had a dinner, and we sort of brought up this issue of Canadian policy. And the way the Chinese understand it, and he understood it, and to him, because he's born and raised in China, 60-year-old Chinese professor, and he just understood it's a quid pro quo. Oh, the reason why we have two Canadians is because you arrested Meng Wanzhou. He's like, Meng Wanzhou is connected. She's like, oh, she's a powerful person. She's important. If you arrest one of those, they'll arrest two of yours. Like he wasn't going on there and saying like, he's not like an anti-government guy. But he wasn't even going. He wasn't even saying. He wasn't even saying, oh no, they committed crimes against China. The Chinese just arrested two. Like, we just arrest two of you. You arrest one of ours, we arrest two of you.
Yeah, that's a hostage thing.
But again, that is China, right? China can do anything.
Yeah,
China can do anything. But the thing is, during the debate, if you heard Andrew Scheer.
Oh, just a second. I'm getting a debate. Canada's named a new ambassador to China, and it is LeBron James.
Oh, is it? No kidding, man.
Continue.
So, when Andrew Scheer was asked this question about these two hostages, he said, you know what, we have to look at the trade we do with our international partners. So, this was the mentality of two leaders, main party leaders, that they do not care about their Canadian citizens.
It's about Canada's place in the
like
world.
If any other,
it's about Canada.
Even a banana republic dictator would have gone for their citizens.
Yeah.
But these two guys did not do what they needed to do, and they will not do.
I agree.
The China, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and India. What happened with India and Mr. Trudeau? With all his mask and fancy and dance and banglas? You could do better than Justin Trudeau.
Dance around that.
Let's go India.
Yeah. So we'll go to India first. But I actually think what set this up, though, this whole catastrophe, I actually think the Saudi Arabia thing is what set it up.
Yeah.
And what set it up was the fact that Saudi Arabia, so what Trudeau said, is they put out a poorly worded statement that had good. They said, oh, we want, release Raif Badawi now. They basically said that said Saudi Arabia has to release Raif Badawi, which is a statement I believe in. Like, Saudi Arabia should release Raif Badawi. It's a human rights crime.
Yeah.
But if you're going to tell Saudi Arabia you have to do it, like, that's a command. There's a way to word it diplomatically. Like, we believe they should. Like, if you wanted to, because we all knew that Chrystia Freeland was going to do nothing for Raif Badawi. We all knew that the Trudeau government wasn't really going to rally the troops and do an international push to get Raif Badawi home.
Yeah.
Right? So they fumbled that, right? If you're going to be tepid, be tepid. If you're going to be hardcore, be hardcore.
Yeah,
they played the middle
that's
there.
right. Yeah, they played in the middle.
Rookie mistake, played in the middle. But the fatal mistake, and the reason why China and the Philippines don't take it seriously, and Pakistan too, is when Saudi Arabia said, okay, you do that, we're going 100%. We're withdrawing all our investment.
Yeah.
We're withdrawing all our people. We're taking all our money out of Canada.
Yeah.
We're putting tariffs on you. You can't give us anything. And then
And they were
Canada
quiet.
did nothing.
Yeah,
they
they were
didn't put
quiet.
any tariffs on Saudi oil. They didn't stop any program in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
They
and
bent over
all
and
they
did
wanted
nothing.
to do was to save their $90 billion deal of mechanized
Yeah.
army vehicles they supplied to Saudi Arabia. That's all we heard from them. Good that they raised that issue, but then go it far. I mean, go all
Push
the way.
it hard.
Push it hard.
Yeah.
And in
In a
China's
diplomatic way, though.
case,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
2 months, people have forgotten about it. I thought, before the election started, I thought that this is going to be blow up in the face of Trudeau.
No, I think China
because
has
it's
too
going
much.
to be a big,
Yeah, yeah.
issue.
I think China.
It was taken very lightly.
I think China has way too much foreign influence in our government and
and this-
media.
So
I
does
think-
Saudi Arabia.
So does Saudi Arabia. I think too many.
Everybody should
Like the CBC Hockey Night in Canada. We talked about Hockey Night in Canada earlier. Who's Hockey Night in Canada's sponsor? Huawei. So
China.
China. China sponsors Hockey Night in Canada. So that's
But
our
there-
national
there are-
broadcast. Like
but you have to take decisions now.
Yeah.
Because there are many things in U.S.
Yeah.
with the China sponsored, but they are trying to realize it now, and Trudeau, we expected to, we expected from him to do a lot better because he knew that how these Chinese games are played. Have you?
I wouldn't accuse him of knowing anything without any.
If somebody hasn't read that book, they must read that book. Jonathan Manthorpe's book, Claws of Panda, which explains that how much China influences Canada in society,
Yeah.
on both on social, political, and economic level. So that's a brilliant book which tells the whole story, and it also tells a lot about Pierce Trudeau's times also when he was quoting China into his orbit.
And I'm going to finish on the Saudi Arabia thing, and I'll bring you guys in here. Is what you saw is after the Canadians did nothing, 2-3 days later, right after they saw, Canada's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Pakistan, even Hamas, which we fund,
Yeah.
all the Arab countries, everyone went to Saudi Arabia because, and the Europeans, no one had our backs, and everyone who took a side went to Saudi Arabia because they saw there's no consequences for going against Canada when Justin Trudeau. There's zero
Yeah,
consequences.
yeah.
So if I back Saudi Arabia, there's zero consequences.
Zero
If I back Canada, there's going to be consequences.
Yeah.
And listen, however progressive values he extols,
Yeah.
countries are more Machiavellian than that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're right.
and this allowed China to just say,
Absolutely.
there's no consequences for going against Canada, so we'll
There's-
take, you take one, we take two.
Yeah.
And we're trying to do that to Trump.
So everyone is taking us for a ride.
yeah,
like,
everyone's
this is
saying
what's
for,
happening.
even the Philippines said,
Yeah.
we don't, there's a bunch of garbage here.
Yeah.
Take this garbage,
Take it
Canada.
back. Like,
take this garbage. now.
imagine.
Come here and take this garbage.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what our global and foreign policy is.
Yeah.
And this is, we did not talk about it during the debate.
And I just wonder. I'm failed to understand how come they skipped the whole, election discourse. How he got away with these fundamental questions, which are important for every
Well,
Canadian.
Rizwan
and
Sahib,
which are
I tell you why.
important- Yeah.
You know what happens, like, if you think about from the Canadian mentality and Daniel's age group,
Yeah.
they only worry about climate.
Yeah.
So they did their research and they say, you know what, hit the climate button. So if you notice that during this entire debate or election campaign, climate was the biggest issue in this whole thing, either opposing or for the climate.
Yeah.
Nobody talked about global foreign policy. Nobody talked about immigration vigorously. So what happened?
So I'm just going to look at the numbers here.
Yeah,
The Liberals and the New
148.
Democrats together, they're going to have enough to form a left-wing coalition. So it looks like the Bloc. So my prediction of the Bloc being the big winners tonight, the Bloc will gain a lot of seats and become an
Yeah.
official party, but it looks like we're going to have a left-wing coalition government forming.
Yeah.
So let's.
We look all set for that. Yeah.
It looks like it's.
But
Justin
Bloc
Trudeau
is
featuring-
getting as much we expected. Yeah.
Yeah, Bloc.
They are doing pretty
It's
fine,
just the
you know.
NDP's performance is.
The NDP's performance is lackluster.
Yeah.
But then the results will come from West, and then
Yeah, we'll get the West, but I'm just saying when British Columbia comes in, right now it looks like they're 3 seats combined away from forming a
Minority
government.
coalition.
They're 3 seats away, and I think between in British Columbia there will be 3 seats in British Columbia that go either red or orange. So it's so what we're looking at now is a Liberal NDP government.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
work on the assumption that it's Justin Trudeau in a minority with Jagmeet Singh pulling the strings. God help us.
Well, only for a couple of years then, I guess.
Only for good thing is
Yeah,
minority government sent to last. And the good thing, and I said this from a conservative perspective, people can't tell that I'm not part of the Liberal Party by now, then if we had a conservative minority with a bloc coalition, that would have been a nightmare for the party long term. It would have destroyed the party.
Yeah.
They would have got nothing done. They wouldn't have been able to build pipelines. They
Yeah.
would have fueled Western separation. The West would have said, screw these conservatives, they can't do anything for me.
Sure, absolutely.
At least now we can get rid of this terrible candidate in
Yeah.
Andrew Scheer.
Yeah.
And we could all come out and say, Andrew Scheer, you messed up. Like this was such a winnable election that like we don't have enough
Yeah,
hours in the
it
day
was
to
on the
talk.
platter,
We don't
yeah.
have enough hours in the day to talk about how many flaws there were to Andrew Scheer's
Yeah.
Yes.
candidacy.
Yeah.
And hopefully they get rid of him. There's a lot of people they can run. Pierre Poliver, Michel Rempel, Garnet Chinouille. But I think Poliver
How
and
Lisa
Rempel...
Ray is doing in Milton today?
Sorry?
How Lisa Ray is doing in
Lisa
Milton
Ray?
today?
I think she's asking the Muslim Brotherhood for... that's the thing.
That would be interesting to know, because she was just, tied in a dead heat
Yeah.
with the opponent,
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, yeah, the Liberals need to get, 24 more seats to form a majority. They're not going to get...
They are not.
They're not going to get
because
it. They might get it. It depends if the Jagmeet Singh, if people were strategically voting against Jagmeet Singh and gave the Liberals a majority, then they get it. They get another 4 years. So, I mean, the best case scenario here is the minority because Canada's carrying so much debt right now, and if
Yeah.
interest rates spike, the whole thing's on a house of cards. Like, people didn't even know. This is like, again, if Stephen Harper was Prime Minister when this happened, but earlier this year, Canada's GDP growth was 0.1%. 0.1. 0 for 2 quarters straight is an official recession. So we were technically in recession. We're acting like it, but it doesn't. Everyone's like, jobs are coming. It's like, you mean part-time jobs in Quebec? Like, we're getting
Yeah,
jobs,
yeah.
unemployment. Like, we created 10,000 jobs.
10,000
we brought in
jobs.
40,000
I've got
immigrants.
6 of them.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got 6 of them.
Yeah, you got
Of-
six.
of-
You got
yeah.
six. I have 4.
Yeah, yeah. In one day, I have to do all 6. Yeah,
that's-
yeah. Those jobs are no.
Yeah, so we're looking at that. So this house of cards that the Liberals have built, we're flush with that. It's going to collapse. Like if we had a conservative majority and Andrew Scheer turned out to be Stephen Harper in disguise, then maybe we would have avoided it. We would have done some things, got some tax cuts in, increased business confidence, deregulated the energy sector. Alberta would have come back to life, and then it could have paid for all Quebec's nonsense, and then Canada could have limped along and functioned for like 8 more years or so, and get back in the thing. That's sort of the story in Ontario now. People are hating on Doug Ford, but you have no idea how close to the brink we were. Like Ontario has no money. We don't have any money. Doug Ford's cutting. Like we don't have money. We have no money.
Yeah.
And the Liberals sold off all our assets and couldn't even balance the budget in the final year. They sold off all the assets. That was maddening. Kathleen Wynne once makes me want to drive my head through a wall. But we have, so at least when this House of Cards collapses, it doesn't collapse on top of the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
And hopefully they can put a strong candidate in. I think their best candidate is Michel Rempel right now. I think because she has an understanding. She can connect with people on social media.
True.
She has this "I'm a woman" card. So when the Liberals want to say, because you saw this how blatantly, pathologically biased the media were by this that we were talking about abortion for this election, right? How much time did we spend on Andrew Scheer's stance on abortion when he said he wouldn't talk about abortion, and none of these issues talked about? Not a second on like real immigration debate. Not a second on foreign policy. Like right, the two things that
all I heard is climate and this thing.
Climate change and abortion.
Exactly.
Right? We need more abortions to save the climate.
And
that's the Democrats. But we're not too far away from like the eugenics argument. Like I guarantee you, I could see Thanos running for political office sometime soon as a Democrat or a liberal. You know, it drives me insane.
All right.
Okay, so we have 145 here. That's
it pretty
144.
much.
Yeah, okay, so it looks like minority. All right.
Yeah.
So we have all right. The People's Party should be.
So what does it mean for Justin Trudeau going forward? Like.
So what does it mean for Justin Trudeau? That's an interesting thing. So where are we at with Justin Trudeau? So we have here a sort of a coalition where so it looks like...
Like my question is he going to have hard time now, or is it...
I think he's going to have a bit of a harder time because the good thing, because the NDP have said that a condition for them working with the Liberals is they have to kill TMX. They have to kill the pipelines and the expansion projects in
That's
Alberta.
done now.
That's done. And to an extent, this is Trudeau's fatal. His worst flaw was he both screwed up and he killed the pipe. He basically, in terms of the pipeline, it's brain dead on life support.
Right.
Which has made no one happy,
Yeah.
right? So what he did is it was a vibrant thing that was part of the thing. He knocked it over the head, so it's brain dead.
Yep.
And then the left cleared, but then he plugged it into a life support machine.
Yeah.
So then the left's like, why is it still alive? So conservatives understand it's brain dead. Like we bought it, it's not doing anything. It's bogged down in the courts.
But we just gotta
You've
plug it.
effectively killed it.
Yep.
But he got it plugged in, so he could say, I care about Alberta sometimes. I care about jobs outside of Quebec sometimes. But. And the left screaming, yank the cord, kill Alberta.
Yeah.
And this is why, again, Alberta's going to go 33 seats.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
all going to go.
To a
They're all going to go
conservative.
conservative.
Yeah.
And I had people on social media. What's wrong with Alberta? They raise it's like, no, Alberta actually doesn't like destroying Alberta's economy. Believe it or not, let's destroy Alberta's economy.
They do care, right?
Doesn't bode well for Alberta's kind of like. That's I disagree. I disagree. So they're going to go straight blue.
Yeah.
So what does it look like? So there's things that are like, okay, pipelines might kill them, and that might, when we actually feel, because again, the speculation is sort of being kept above, but because people are like, oh, maybe it's not dead, but when it's actually dead, right, because we're carrying so much debt, and they say, oh no, Alberta's dead, we got NDP in power, business confidence, those business people know they can kind of do deals with the Liberals, they kind of remember Paul Martin, they kind of remember John Chrétien, they remember those days.
Yeah.
That's all dead. So business confidence is going to tank, I think, over the next couple of years. So you'll see, this could have sort of knocked down the house of cards.
Yeah, if oil in Alberta goes down, the economy, there's little chance that the economy does well. Though.
I think we'll get an uptick in identity politics. I think there'll be a lot of omnibus bills puffed up with radical identity politics and social justice nonsense to make the NDP say, look how progressive we are, mixed in with corporate donors and liberal policy. So I think one of the things I think this is the nightmare scenario for the Jewish community, because I think the first concession, I think the easiest concession the liberals can make to sort of this radical social justice thing is let's just give away the Israel's thing. Let's just
absolutely dance in the street.
Yeah.
With their traditional dance.
Yeah, but I mean the NDP have been openly supporting BDS and this radical Palestinian narrative that is just not true on Israel, and the liberals have sort of held serve tepidly there, but the liberals have been using anti-Semitic candidates and they seem to have no problem with that. So I think the liberals make the savvy connection that left-wing Jews don't really care about anti-Semitism because they think left-wing anti-Semitism won't hit them. Although they'll be the last ones thrown into the ovens is sort of the mentality of half our community, is be blunt about that. And I think they'll make the connection that, demographically speaking, there's more anti-Semites than Jews. So we can make that, and the NDP can sort of become the party of, the sort of left-wing anti-Semitism, like Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party.
Yeah.
So I think this coalition is the first step towards that.
Yeah.
I think that will be, I think within a year you'll see a lot of quasi-anti-Semitic policy coming out from this coalition. And then other than that, if someone really has to talk about pharmacare, because they're talking about the big lie the NDP are pushing, or it's lying about omission is Canadian pharmacare covers 90%, 95% of our pharmacare is covered. And we have to pay for 5% of it.
5%, yeah.
Which isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Like my grandmother,
Yeah,
92,
It isn't
just
bad.
went in to pay her pharmacological bill. It's 92. It costs money to keep a 92-year-old lady alive.
Yeah.
Love her, and we should definitely keep her alive. I'm a big fan of her being alive. But she had something like, $700 and something worth of pharmacological bills, and the government, and she had to pay $67. Right? Out of that, she had to pay $67 for an entire medication for a year.
Yeah.
And she's waving the receipt around, look at this, look how little I pay, what a great country this is.
Yeah.
The ghost of my grandfather is except $67, look at this, He's showing the other dead people. Right? And maybe there's a poor family out there who really, and they have $10,000 worth of pharmacological costs, and they're forced to pay, $307 a year.
Right. Yeah.
And okay, and
at least 5%. I mean, nobody
it's
minds.
it's not perfect. I get it, but Jagmeet Singh has such a great line in this. Instead of using your credit card, use your OHIP card, right? Your health card instead of your credit card. And it's such a misleading thing that we have a system that works for 95% of people 95% of the time. He's talking about tearing that entire thing down to build some socialist, totally socialist healthcare, pharmacare thing, and it's you don't realize that the reason liberals keep promising this but never do it is because it sounds nice, but they know if if they destroy this thing, then it will hurt way more people. The liberals have always been sort of, somewhat savvy on this point of,
Yeah.
if we pull down
I agree.
pharmacare,
I agree.
we do that. And this is sort of Jagmeet Singh's
And
big push.
I think, I mean, things are, as we know, Trudeau, he will keep Jagmeet happy by his statements, we are doing it on the policy thing, but at the end of the day, he would not really go into it, making the whole pharmacare, which is good.
Yeah, which I think is good in the long term, because it will show that the NDP can finally drop this, because if they're in a coalition and they can't get it done, maybe they can. The only way they can policy on this is hammer on the Liberals, and not be able to do that. So
Yeah.
so and we're at 10:35. So I have
So basically, it looks like they may have a
yeah
minority government. They may have won the election.
They are 35 block now.
Yeah.
So it means that there are not many seats left anymore.
there are not many seats left. So we're at what
yeah.
260.
So Trudeau won the elections but lost the majority, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, minority.
Okay, so it looks like Alberta and stuff is going to come in, because we're past 10:30.
Yeah.
So I think we're just waiting on British Columbia. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, I think another major outcome from this is Western separation. Not happening, but you're going to hear. I heard someone say like separation in the West was like the 7th most talked about issue. Now it's up to number 2. I think you're going to hear fears of Western separation pushed up. I think it would have been worse if the Conservative government allied with the Bloc and then failed. That would have been worse, because they would have been like right? It's always worse when you crash off an emotional high, right? Right now we're dealing with right now there's no There's like everyone in Alberta is just sharpening their knives, like ready to invade Quebec. This is sort of where they are right now.
316 we have already got.
316. So we're just okay. So we're waiting on we're waiting on British Columbia now. So this numbers has Saskatchewan. The good thing is we can get rid of Andrew Scheer now.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And I've been ragging on Andrew Scheer for his faults, and some people come, you're a secret liberal PPC, which is also the liberal. I've gotten all that. And I've gone against Maxime Bernier when I think he's wrong, and you're a liberal. This, but we can finally admit that Andrew Scheer, God, was he a terrible candidate. God, was he a spineless coward.
So that is the mistake Conservative will now understand and realize.
Yes, hopefully we get a Conservative Party that says, all right, maybe the big baby coward thing isn't a great push. Like Michelle Rempel has more balls than anyone else in the Conservative Party. And that's kind of why I think she should be the next leader, because she's shown some toughness.
When do you see it happening, the leadership contest?
I don't know, because this is Stephen Harper's party, so it depends. I think there'll be an
would
interim
they push
leader.
him earlier, or would they
I would say probably a year or so, over a year down the road. I think Andrew Scheer will have to resign within it. Once the dust clears, we'll have Andrew Scheer resign. We'll have an interim leader. I don't know who will do it. Hopefully, I mean, usually the interim leader doesn't, again, run for leader. So you'll probably see a senior member of the Conservative Party in her cabinet, maybe like a guy like James Brazen or something, like a guy who is not super popular outside the party, but kind of popular inside the party. You'll see someone like him do it. I thought Ronna Ambrose did a great job in the interim. So I think the good result is the Andrew Scheer experiment is over. Like, I mean, God, every time I watch him attack Trudeau from the left, I just wanted to rip my hair out.
So if you think that instead of Andrew Scheer, it was Maxime Bernier, the leader of
he wins.
Conservatives,
they
would have.
I think they would have won. I think they would have won because
it was very easy
because people would have voted. Because Maxime Bernier would have been a candidate that people voted for. Because if we got we probably wouldn't have got the same policy out of the PPC if Maxime Bernier is being the head, because Conservative policy has to be done in caucus. But with Bernier steering it, Bernier would have ended supply-side management, so there would have been an actual liberal push. And I was really excited about Bernier, and I was supporting him in the leadership race, because I thought you can make the argument to Canada, you can make the serious argument from a Conservative perspective that Maxime Bernier is the most liberal candidate on a classical liberal metric, right? Maxime Bernier is never said anything about abortion, so he's fine on that. But Maxime Bernier, it's freedom. He probably would have. One of the things I said is what the Conservatives should say, and Andrew would never say this, but you could see Maxime Bernier being a type of guy who would say something like this. Like if I was running for the Conservative Party and someone asked me on marijuana, Justin Trudeau legalized marijuana, so he's a hero to everyone under 30. But if they asked me, what would you do about marijuana, and I was running in this election, I would have said, I'm going to legalize marijuana. And people say, what do you mean legalize marijuana? Is it already legal? I say, no, it's a government cartel. It's a nationalized monopoly. I'm going to make it an actual commodity, and I'm going to legalize marijuana. Right? So there's a lot of ways that using Maxime Bernier's libertarian leanings could have won over people. Said like, actually show an analogy, it's liberal, it's free markets, lower taxes. You would have got this new classical liberal wave that's very big in the young conservative bunch. You would have got an energized base.
What about immigration? Do you think at that time immigration would be an issue for conservative if Maxime was leading it?
I think Maxime Bernier wouldn't have said 150, but I think he would have said we're not going to raise it.
Yeah.
So I think he would have at least had the political smarts to know that there has to be a difference on us and the liberals and immigration. That because people voting immigration, like immigration was a big driver of Brexit, of a lot of European politics, American politics. Immigration is an issue.
It's a big issue.
And I'm sure if you look at India and you look at South Korea, immigration is an issue there too. It's a universal thing.
It's a universal thing.
And the fact that the conservatives failed to distinguish themselves from the liberals on immigration was a
they were on the
fatal
same page, both of them.
Same page. It was a fatal mistake. Even like they even could have said, well, 300. Like, because there was literally no difference on them. That it didn't drive.
Was hard to,
because it drives conservatives to the polls, and the conservatives did nothing to drive conservatives to the polls. The conservatives committed the fatal sin in politics of not energizing your base or not playing to your base. Like there's too much of pandering to your base can kill you. But ignoring your base, which is what Andrew Scheer did, and that created the PPC, it will kill you. And that's this was the most winnable election.
Right? Absolutely.
My nephew is 7 months old. We could have run him as a conservative. He would have beaten Trudeau. We would have. I could have beaten. If I was his campaign manager, my nephew would be the prime minister right now. A majority. I would have put a little adorable shirt on him saying, "We will close the border," and he would wear different shirts, and I had to shake him out there, and he'd go, "Ah," and he'd be wearing a shirt saying, "We'll close the border," and people would go like, "Yeah, it's better than Trudeau." He's a more articulate baby than Justin Trudeau is a man, and people would have voted for him. Baby, 2019, you would have killed it. Would have killed it.
So it looks like we can declare it as a minority government. Liberal Party has won. Justin Trudeau is going to be the prime minister.
Take a break now.
And
so I think that's a good place to leave it up. So Canada, I know the results haven't come from BC, and I don't think there's enough bones, but it's calling it. It's a liberal minority nightmare government of socialist epic proportions. The Western Canada, if you're watching, put down the gun. Everything's going to be okay. If you need a hug, I'll be here. And we'll take a break. And are we going to be back later, or is it good for the night? I think we're good for the night. So we're going to call the election here. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to TAC TV on YouTube, Minds, Facebook, wherever you are. Wherever you're watching this, subscribe to it. Tell all your friends. Tell your enemies too, because I'm sure they'd love to see what we did tonight. Good night, Canada.